speaking of the All-Star game in New York City, a 72-year-old Knicks fan recently wrote an email to Knicks owner and MSG chairman James Dolan. In the email, he criticizes Dolan for decisions he's made as an owner. Well, Dolan responded, "Mr. Bierman, you are a sad person. Why would anybody write such a hateful letter? I'm just guessing, but I'll bet your life is a mess and you are a hateful mess. What you have done that anyone would consider positive or nice, I am betting nothing. In fact, I bet you are a negative force in everyone who comes in contact with you. You most likely have made your family miserable. Alcoholic, maybe. I just celebrated my 21st year of sobriety. You should try it. Maybe it will help you become a person that folks would like to have around. In the meantime, start rooting for another team, the Nets, because the Knicks don't want you. Respectfully, James Dolan." In the meanwhile, start rooting for the Nets because the Knicks don't want you. Respectfully, James Dolan. Stephen A., your response to that letter to a fan?
Flabbergasted. That's the word that comes to my mind. Man, 72 years old, been a Knicks fan for half century. Writes to you because every word he said was true. I mean, I don't even count the first 2 years under Dolan's stewardship when he took over basically control of operations in 1999. Before that, his daddy was in control. When they were winning, Jeff Van Gundy was the coach, and something that had already been established by Pat Riley in the early part of the 90s and ultimately taken over and sustained by Jeff Van Gundy. But from that point forward, they've been downhill ever since. The coaches, the personnel decisions, what have you. They go through 3 consecutive winning seasons. Last 2, a year and a half with Mike Woodson, and then he struggles with the 37-win season last year due to a bevy of injuries and other issues, and you let him go. You bring in Phil Jackson, clearly looking as if you got hoodwinked out of $12 million a year. You begged and begged and begged him, and really it was for a public relations standpoint because you wanted to hold off folks from really striking outside of Madison Square Garden. I'm not trying to be, disrespectful to James Dolan, but the New York Knicks under his stewardship have been a disaster, an absolute unmitigated disaster. There has been virtually nothing impressive about him as a leader. The Rangers, I'm sure they could say something different because of the success that they've enjoyed, but clearly that can't be said about the New York Knicks. And to respond to a supporter this way, so disrespectfully, particularly bringing up alcohol and what have you, when you had your problems with alcohol and drugs and was in a clinic back in 1993. I mean, I don't even want to say what nerve, what insensitivity, but they say that billionaires live by different rules. Well, I happen to know a couple of billionaires. They don't live by those rules. You're still a human being. You're still going to be 6 feet under one day, just like the rest of us. And you would like to believe that he would know better than responding to a fan in this fashion. Just don't respond. As Skip would say, or Coach Herm Edwards would say, don't hit send. It doesn't just apply to Twitter. It applies to emails and everything like this. The fact that he would exert this level of energy to belittle somebody and to be so disrespectful, it's unfortunate because it gives us some insight to why the New York Knicks have been so pathetic for so long. Because you have an owner and Mr. Dolan who's too busy reading emails instead of being on a job, making sure this franchise is moving in a forward direction. And it's a shame because I know a lot of people who work under him who are good people, and in fairness to James Dolan, I know a lot of good things that he's done for a lot of employees that they would never expect him to behave this way. But it's clearly in him, and it's really unfortunate, to be honest with you.
I've known you for a long time. Sometimes I think I know you better than you know you. That's just me.
Yeah.
I'm amazed by your reaction or lack thereof on this point. I expected outrage from you. I expected high decibels. I expected you to preach about how this man must be gotten out of this job somehow, some way. You are beyond outrage, where you can't even dredge up outrage anymore.
That's exactly where I was going.
You've been beaten down so many times by your New York Knicks that you reach for that gear, and it's dead now because they're dead. That resounding thud you just heard that echoed all around New York City was this franchise hitting absolute bottom with this. It can't get any worse than what this is right here. If ever an owner could be fired, this is a fireable offense for an owner. Am I right? If you could effectively, if the fans could vote to fire an owner, this email right here is all you would need. Because number one, and I tried to research this and I can't find out how this happened. How would he even respond? Yeah, I get responding to a tweet, but this was an email, so I'm not sure how he saw the email. Did it just come into the website and he just happened to be skimming through responses? Because you want to talk about thin skin here? This is cellophane thin skin. You're responding to a longtime fan you do not know, and you are attacking him personally. This is incomprehensible to me. A personal attack from the longtime owner, son of a longtime owner, of the New York Knicks. You are attacking a fan you have never met who has stayed with your franchise since 1952. And you stoop to saying, maybe you, as I am, maybe you're an alcoholic too. Maybe you should try seeking help. What? What are you talking about? This, what is he, 73? 72, okay. And you attack him personally, and then you say, in the meantime, if you're not going to get help for your apparent alcohol problem, then maybe you should start rooting for the Knicks. I mean, the Nets instead of the Knicks. And
we don't want you.
And you dare to sign it with the hilariously ironic sign-off, respectfully. Respectfully, James Dolan. Are you kidding me? Seriously. This is the owner of the storied New York Knicks who did this? Is there any way to get this man out of his position running this franchise? Well, you were on the verge when he hired Phil Jackson. You were trying to do it through public outcry. You were trying to do it because you were inspiring. Let's what do you call it? Picket, or what would you call the protest outside? Right? Boycott, right? Weren't you on the verge of doing that when he hired Phil Jackson and sort of took the sting out of your protest?
Let me touch on this, and I'm going to be as open as I've ever been on this show. First of all, I was one of the premier instigators of that protest that was scheduled to take place outside of Madison Square Garden when Phil Jackson was hired, because then Phil Jackson came in because my thing is I was on the radio at ESPN New York preaching protest. This is abominable. It's hard to take. I was so disgusted with this team, and I got to tell you, Skip Bayless, I'm so glad that you highlighted. You know, yes, I know you expected me to go off. You all know how much I love basketball. It's been the hardest season I've ever had watching basketball. I will not go to Knicks games unless the bosses make me. I don't want to go to All-Star Weekend for the first time in my career because it's at the Garden. Of course I'm looking forward to seeing the stars. Of course I'm looking forward to the NBA celebrating. But when I walk into that building and I think about what the Knicks are, now maybe it's on purpose. Maybe Phil Jackson has some grand scheme that we don't know about, you know, clearly trying to build through the draft and get some players. And I pray for Carmelo Anthony. That's my man. I love him, and I wish nothing but the best for him. But the New York Knicks are such an atrocity. It depresses me to watch them. And it's like an addiction, because I can't turn the channel when I'm flicking the channel and they're on. I can't turn it, but then I invite my own suffering. You understand? And I know that this man is at the core of it all. At the core of it all. And you can't get rid of the billionaire owner. I mean, he's the billionaire owner. He's the governor for the team. He's the one that represents them when they get their board of governor meetings and all of this other stuff. So he's got his fingerprints on everything. It's bad enough that he owns the team, but he doesn't just cut the check. He's involved in everything. So your involvement in everything further facilitates the franchise's demise. And it has literally contaminated me in terms of my love for basketball like a virus. I'm trying to get over. I wish there was an antibiotic for it or something to help me get over what I have seen. I am not exaggerating. My sisters, everybody look at me. Carmen's got to make me lasagna or something. They just look at me because I watch the Knicks, and I literally watch the Knicks like this. Or I'm like, I just cover my face because I don't want anybody seeing tears well in my eyes. They are so awful that I just look at them and it's like, I don't know what to feel. I'm at a loss emotionally. I really am. Yeah. When I saw that email, I said, damn, we got to talk about the Knicks today.
Yeah.
You got to. That's how I feel about it. I'm telling you right now, if the boss has said to me, Stevie, you don't have to go to the Garden this week, I would be so happy.
Right.
I don't even drive down 7th Avenue or 8th or up 8th Avenue because I don't want to see the Garden. Yeah. That's how bad the New York Knicks are this year. That's how much it is. And I'm not exaggerating. It is absolute. It's the guys that work for the organization that I know. I barely communicate with them because they'll get me thinking about the basketball team. I'm that depressed over it. It's sad.
You just described another horror movie where you're flipping around watching NBA games, but you land on the Knicks, and all of a sudden your TV takes you over, and you can't turn it. It's like another poltergeist, right?
And I want to make something very clear.
They're back.
Listen, I'm an NBA lover. I'm not encouraging anybody to forget the All-Star game. There's a lot of stars and everything. I'm just saying, me personally, as much as I love All-Star Weekend, the fact that it's inside those corridors of Madison Square Garden, those ticket prices, the renovations, everything you've done, and then you tease us when you bring us Phil Jackson, and then you give us this. It's cruel. It's cruel, man. What we have been subjected. I'm talking about Knicks fans. What we have been subjected to. I can't watch it. I mean, I can, but I can't. It's just, I am absolutely miserable. You can't find one person that has seen me happy to be talking about basketball this year when you bring up the Knicks. I was happy in Atlanta Friday. Yeah. I was happy there. Yeah. I can't do it, man. It's just that bad.
Of the three of us, the only person whose team is prospering would be one Skip Bayless. But I don't know. They're kind of struggling, too.
No, they're really struggling.
But you guys are still defending champions. We don't see a championship in our
I can't stop watching them either.
I know. It's bad. Let's leave it there, guys, and talk about LeBron's comments. He tweeted this morning something very interesting. He's calling out the media, perhaps Skip and Stephen A. We'll talk about it in just a few moments. We'll be right back.